Hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. In the aftermath of Justin Trudeau declaring his intention to resign as Prime Minister once the Liberal Party of Canada elects a new leader, many in the Liberal base are not taking it well, especially the online Trudeau cheerleading base. Liberal social media has a higher salt content right now than the Dead Sea. And today I am going to be your tour guide, taking you on a leisurely stroll through liberal social media. Buckle up, it's going to get pretty insane pretty fast. I'll start with stuff I've just screenshotted, then I want to scroll through my bookmarks on X. This stuff gets really funny just because the person behind it truly believes what they're saying. This is not engagement bait. These people aren't even verified on X. They are not monetized. They truly couldn't comprehend that a man with a negative 48% approval rating might consider stepping out of office. They feel betrayed by both Trudeau as well as every minister who wouldn't back him to the absolute very end. It's a little vulgar, so I had to screenshot some of the stuff so I could just mark out all of the curse words because we're trying to run a somewhat family friendly channel here. So here is the first post I want to go through, or I guess it's technically a reply thread. And it starts off with Roddy here, who was, in fact, a big Trudeau supporter up until maybe a couple months ago, where he started admitting that maybe Trudeau should be replaced by someone like Chrystia Freeland. I believe he is actually currently backing both Carney and Freeland as replacements. A lot of these people are anonymous or semi anonymous, but they actually are big players when it comes to liberal social media. And probably that says something about the quality control of liberal social media. But Roddy says, I still hate Pierre Poilievre. Why are liberals mad at me? And BK Belton, one of Trudeau's biggest cheerleaders on social media, then follows up and says, You gave up. Roddy then says, bookmarking this, and she says, Why? It's all over. And then this random guy called The Climate, who BK Belton has retweeted, says, No, it's not. He's got PP and the Conservatives right where he wants them. Yes, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau currently has Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives right where he wants them. You know, standing over his political dead body is apparently right where Justin Trudeau wanted Pierre Poilievre. And by the way, for everyone out there who says Trudeau didn't actually resign, he's only intending to resign and he could just reverse himself in March. Yeah, technically, this is one of those things where I feel like people who don't follow politics closely enough will conclude as something likely to happen that Trudeau is just going to back out at the last moment because nobody can trust him. Can you not trust Trudeau? Yeah, don't trust Trudeau. Pretty much anything he says cannot be trusted. But right now, all the incentives are for him to step out. What is he going to do in 2 months? Say, I'm just kidding, and then go down in history as the most hated prime minister ever because he couldn't even stick to his word to resign? Trudeau gets to avoid getting clobbered in the next federal election, and all these other liberal losers get to try and get in as the prime minister so at least they can say they were a prime minister for like 2 or 3 weeks. That's the current incentive structure. It then allows Trudeau to maybe try and make a comeback like 8 to 12 like years later. Not that he should. Obviously, he's a terrible prime minister, but yes, his intention to resign is pretty much set in stone unless something crazy happens, like massive corruption in the Liberal Party leadership race, and he has to keep being prime minister because there's no legitimate outcome. But yeah. But moving on to the next post here, we have this person, and I'm mostly using BK Belton as a curator of all this craziness because she retweets every crazy liberal take. This person, K Nugent 4118, says Trudeau stepped down. That doesn't change the fact that Pierre Poilievre is still a blank, blank who hates Canada, and blank who would suck on the world stage, and blank who has no plan, a blank who cheated to win his leadership. What? A blank who hasn't proper clearance. Yes, the security clearance is still the thing that matters here, not the fact that the 11 MPs named in this Nisakop report about foreign interference are probably all liberal. Maybe one isn't a liberal, but they're probably all liberals. Yes, it's pure Poilievre who is the problem because he doesn't want to get a nonsense security clearance that doesn't actually let him talk about the report if he reads it. By the way, the man has had to get tons of security clearances throughout his entire political career. The problem with this one is it basically is a background check on him again, and he's done those before, but it's a background check on like everyone, including his dog. And he then doesn't even get to read the report. So what's the point? And would you trust Trudeau in this situation if you got the security clearance to not leak anything embarrassing on even a second cousin if he found it? Because he's desperate. His party is desperate. How couldn't they just have a staffer walk the information out to some crazy journalist at the Toronto Star to report on something stupid that happens with some aunt of his or one of his best friends? That's why he doesn't want to get it, because it's useless to get it, and you would have to trust the Liberals to keep any information private. And it's not even like they're not going to find anything illegal that Polyev has done. Again, the guy gets a police background check probably every year. It's that they would use literally anything that they could find on a fishing expedition to mess with him. Here is another post here by this Dieter McPherson person who apparently is some influential person in progressive circles online. And he says, I'm considering running for leader of the NDP. Jagmeet Singh just put out a statement that makes my blood boil. Pound sand, you ambulance chasing class hole. Yeah, Dieter, yes, it's Jagmeet Singh who's classless in Canadian politics. Is Jagmeet Singh classless? Sure, but not exactly for Jagmeet Singh's post yesterday. Jagmeet Singh basically just said Trudeau's a failure, he sucks at his job, whatever, whatever. It doesn't matter who the Liberals put in his place. It's all the same, nothing's changed, which is sort of what Polyev also said, although Jagmeet Singh is a complete hypocrite because all of the things that he thinks that the Liberals failed on, the NDP had their hands in. So how did the Liberals fail without you having failed with them? Jagmeet Singh doesn't want to do any of the mental mathematics there to make it make sense, because it doesn't make sense. But this guy is basically just mad that Jagmeet doesn't like Trudeau and the Liberals. Yes, he doesn't like them. It's just a Liberal upset that the NDP is not back rubbing Trudeau and the Liberals after losing their obviously corrupt and ineffective, terrible, nasty leader. I don't know what to say to these people. It's just delusional. But before I get to the next one, and we got another dozen of these to go through, I'm not going to be offended if you click off because it's long. But guys, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers by somewhere December 20th of this year. It's a big goal, but you always try and make big goals rather than just achieving tiny goals that you can achieve something massive. So subscribe, like the video, leave a comment if you know any crazy takes that you've witnessed. But moving on to this next one. Here we have this profile, again, retweeted, actually this time by Creek Pete, another insanely delusional person on social media, big Trudeau fan. This person, who is called CEO Pure Polyev's Baloney Factory, says, gotta love Canadian media. Media, resign, resign, resign. PM resigns. Media, don't you think it's irresponsible to resign? Blank you all, can't wait to watch you all go blank. Yeah, so you can fill in the blanks there if you want. What is this person talking about? Because there's this narrative, and this is why Creek Pete retweeted it, because he's one of these TikTokers who acts professionally impressed with himself all the time, while he gives out the most lame liberal talking points you've ever heard. The idea is that the media was treating Trudeau unfairly towards the end of his tenure here. So in the last year, the media was too negative. Okay, maybe I don't want to freak you guys out. Maybe Trudeau doing a bad job caused even the sycophantic media to eventually have to cover some of it. When crime is at an all-time high, violent crime is at an all-time high, eventually the media has to mention it. But these people think that if the media isn't acting on behalf of the Liberals to help them, then they are helping the Conservatives. It's insane. It's delusional. They actually think the Toronto the Toronto Red Star is a conservative publication. Yeah, totally, guys. Bruce Arthur, well-known conservative pundit. All these people think Rosemary Barton is a conservative. Legitimately. That's why I saw people like Creek Pete going on about that. It's sickening to see Rosemary Barton basically cheering on the get rid of Trudeau crowd, and basically talk about how nice of a man he was after he resigned. Guys, they were fawning over this man the entire time. And then when it stops because the music is obviously going out for Trudeau, then it's they betrayed the man. It's so bad. And then they say, then she claims, the CEO of Polyev's Baloney Factory says, the media is now saying that it's irresponsible for him to resign. No, it's irresponsible for him to prorogue government, intend to resign and have a liberal leadership race when we should probably just be having an election, especially at a time when we have the Americans wanting to renegotiate our border policies, our border deals, our trade deals, security relationship, and we're going to have government out of action, a lame duck prime minister, and a leadership race to elect some other boring face for the party. Here's also, guys, this is how Justin Trudeau personally betrayed me. He's betrayed me in the same ways he betrayed all Canadians, but here's the way he personally betrayed me. It's so easy talking about Justin Trudeau. He is a very compelling, stupid, but funny, charismatic liberal politician to talk about. Guys, now I have to talk about Frank Baylis. This is the first man into the liberal leadership race. He was a one-term liberal MP, and now I have to care about who Frank Baylis is, who I believe was involved in COVID healthcare scams. Justin, why would you do this to me? I can't make interesting content about Frank Baylis, but I will try. Obviously, as a conservative, I'm strongly in the Frank Baylis camp. I'm a Frank Baylis boy, and I'm going to be promoting the heck out of him. I don't even know who this man is. He's just some hacky former Montreal politician who he wasn't even replaced by an NDP person, maybe a Bloc, but it's a liberal seat currently. I think he just was flaky and dropped out, but he's back to fight for the liberal leadership. Justin, why do I have to talk about this man? He's boring. I cannot make content out of Anita Anand. She is the most boring person I've ever met. The only saving grace for Chrystia Freeland is she's so annoying and boring, it eventually cracks through to the other side where it becomes funny. The whole Mr. Speaker type stuff is easy to imitate, but Trudeau is too easy to parody. Go check out the 22-minute skits they're making about him. Suddenly, after they realize Trudeau is bad at his job and he is incompetent and unpopular, suddenly 22 minutes, this hour's 22 minutes, learns how to write good Trudeau skits. Anyways, okay. Back to the old grind, guys. Here's one we have from this guy, Lawrence Martin. That was people expecting Trudeau to resign. Okay, now we are going to go over to my bookmarks and go look up the other takes that I didn't have to censor because these were less crazy. We're going to start off with Wayne Long here. He is actually the first Liberal MP to say that Justin Trudeau should resign. I will give him credit. Technically, Jane Philpott and Jody Wilson-Raybould said it, but they were out of office by that point, or they were kicked out of the party. But Wayne Long was a sitting Liberal MP, still currently sitting as a MP in New Brunswick, and he is now saying that now that Trudeau is out of office, this isn't as much of a Trudeau sycophant thing, but they're saying that now that Trudeau is out of office, the Liberals' chances of winning the next election have gone up 1,000%.
What was going through your head as you watched the Prime Minister make that announcement finally today?
Honestly, sadness. It's a day that we did work towards and, a day that we wanted to happen, but it's pretty sad that we had to get to this point. I mean, to your other commentators' words, this should have and could have happened months ago. But you know what? It happened. It's a day of reflection, I know, for a lot of us. But in the end, it had to happen.
Is it? It doesn't feel like you guys actually reflect it. And we're going to get to it. All the Liberals are suddenly posting. What a swell chap that Trudeau guy was. You guys didn't learn a single thing. If you think the thing you have to do after Trudeau steps down is start being sycophants again.
Our chances of winning the next election have just gone up by about 1,000% than they were 2 hours ago. So I look at this as a day of sadness and reflection, but also day one of our rebuild. Let's go.
1,000%. Well, maybe he's going on my math that 1,000, times 0 still equals 0. The Liberals have no chance of winning because nobody trusts these people. The problem with every single person who is considered a potential candidate for the Liberal leadership, and I will be making a long-form edited video going over each person, what kind of lane they fill inside the Liberal Party, what's their background. Although everyone's background is they just do what Trudeau says. They're all hacky cabinet ministers, other than Mark Carney and Christy Clark, but they're boring in different ways. That you can't say much about these people. There's nothing to say, so that's going to be a tough video for me to make because it's hard to say anything about these people. If anything, Wayne Long, if he ran, would be a better choice because at least he can run on the fact that, hey, I wasn't as stupid as everyone else, and I said that Trudeau should resign a year ago. But here is another post by a very upset Liberal supporter. It says her profile is Brooke, my flags trigger something about people or whatever. Her name's so long you can't even read it, and she has a Paul Lively post. Here's a great lesson from Donald Trump. If you saw him on, I forget what podcast it was, but he was on a comedy podcast. He says when you come up with nicknames for people or quips, it has to have that hue. It has to have that kind of like quick off the lips kind of a feel to it. Paul Lively sucks. It makes me feel like I can't speak English to even say it. Anyways, but she says, the best prime minister in Canadian history has resigned. F you, Russia, F you, Harper, and the IDU. One thing you cannot take away is Trudeau was a progressive leader who loved his country. Does he? It says, actually made Canada great again in the photo. What? I can literally show you objective metrics where Canada is worse off. Per capita incomes, worse off. Crime, much worse off. The military, much worse off. Drug deaths, much worse off. I could go all day about how our investment in our economy has dried up. The only thing that's currently driving new investments right now is because the Canadian dollar is so weak that American companies will sometimes relocate just over the border, because even though our taxes and regulations are bad, the fact that our dollar, like an American dollar, is 1.44 Canadian dollars makes it worthwhile. You can pay people much less to do the same work in Canada, just like it works on the southern border with Mexico. So we are basically like half of the way to Mexico at this point. Anyways, let's move on to the next post. Oh, okay, we're going to talk about one of the weird sycophantic posts here by Mark Carney, the man who, after Freeland resigned and then suddenly started jabbing at Trudeau hard and calling all of his new GST, HST, holiday, and money handout schemes a big gimmick, that he backed off. So the funny thing is he was one of the people who helped knife Trudeau, but he is here with this post saying, thank you, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, for your leadership, for your many contributions to Canada, and for the sacrifices you and your family have made for public service. Wishing you the best for your next chapters. Yeah. Justin Trudeau will maybe try and figure out how to read a book for his next chapter in life. Here's another one, Melanie Joly, another potential leadership candidate. Over the last 10 years, the Prime Minister devoted himself to make this country a better place for all Canadians. Well, did he achieve that? I'm pretty sure he's resigning because he didn't achieve that. She says, though, thank you, Justin Trudeau, for your leadership, determination, and sacrifice. Sending well wishes to him and his family. Why? This is so bad. Here's another person. Why would you pick the mask photo? Why? I just want you guys to stop sucking at comms. The thing is, I don't want the Liberal Party to implode, because Canada needs multiple parties. I want the Liberal Party to implode if it keeps being crazy, but wouldn't it be great if the Paul Martin, Jean Chrétien type Liberals came back and they were the ones leading the party? And they're not as good as the Conservatives, but if the Liberals take over, it's not like an apocalyptic event where our economy is going to get destroyed and mass immigration is going to destroy the social fabric of the country again. We can rest easy knowing the opposition has a clue. That's what I'd like, but we don't have that right now. But this girl, Maya Tomasi, says, I watched the 2015 debates at lunch during school and felt heard as a young person by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. This marks the end of an era. Thank you, PM, for everything you've done for Canada. And then become a member of the party. And she's a comms person, I believe, for Melanie Joly or Anita Anand. And it's yeah, just sign up for a membership because I want you to vote for the person I want you to vote for. Okay, smooth move there. I liked this one. Let's do something fun. Brittany highlighting this thing that Augustino posted. Augustino lives in Langley, so he was the one who originated this. But Dairy Queen out in Langley actually was having an offer to give people $2 burgers for Trudeau's resignation. I'm not sure if that's a day-only thing, but if it is going on more than one day, I would check that out. By the way, if you live in the federal riding of Abbotsford South Langley. There is a federal Conservative nomination going on in that riding right now. I would suggest you buy a federal Conservative membership. The person I think is the best in that race, although there are multiple candidates you can look through, I would be marking Steve Schaefer number 1 in your ballot. I think he's very good, unorthodox, through and through Conservative. Anyways, moving on. Next reaction. Oh my goodness. Let's talk about the Liberal Party's official post. Then we'll later talk about a video of him. They just do this whole thank you, Justin Trudeau. And notice how all these photos, I believe, are from the 2015 campaign or his 2013 leadership. Even the Liberal Party knows they probably shouldn't post any photos of him in the last few years because that wouldn't be so good. This is funny. So Roddy here, who we talked about earlier, says, I don't think that it's Carney or Freeland in terms of who should be the next leader. I think of this like a hockey team that has offloaded their stars for a period of rebuilding. My humble opinion. Yes, the stars. The stars of Mark Carney and Chrystia Freeland. Stars. I can see it now. A big beige star for Chrystia Freeland. These people are boring. That's why I brought the Frank Baylis thing. What do you say about Frank Baylis? Like, maybe if I'm in Montreal, I have more to say, but even with him, he's a one-termer. Even someone in Montreal probably doesn't even know who he is. Do you remember many of the one-term MPs that have held your riding in the past? Probably not, because they probably didn't leave that big of an impression. I want to go through, of course, we have Stephen Guilbeault here, very upset of the leader leaving the guy who was enabling him as the proud socialist that he is. Stephen Guilbeault says, thank you for your service, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. You have been the leader we needed. For almost 10 years, you've been there for Canadians. You have been the leader we needed. When did he stop being the leader you needed? By the way, Stephen, when did that stop? Because that's actually a pertinent question. When did he start sucking at his job? Because if anything, I give Justin Trudeau, he's consistent because he's been consistent in every single policy he's put forward in the past 10 years. So when did it sour? That's what I'm wondering, because apparently he was great up until undisclosed time. Here's an article from Cult MTL. Remember that these people get $40,000 to $40,000 plus every single year from the federal government and other money as well from the Quebec government. Obviously, that's a magazine, Culture Montreal. And this is an article they wrote that is titled, What are Justin Trudeau's greatest accomplishments as Prime Minister? And unfortunately, the article is not just like blank pages for like that you can scroll for like hours. There are actual words and attempts at saying that he did stuff well. It says, among Justin Trudeau's greatest accomplishments are managing the COVID-19 pandemic. What? Remember the Freedom Convoy? Cannabis legalization, affordable childcare, the path to reconciliation, gun control, climate change, climate action, improving Canada's international reputation. Oh my goodness, why are these people this way? What? We're currently being mocked by everyone. Literally everyone mocks us. We are like a punching bag in the world because of this guy, because of how bad this guy has been as the country's leader. We are now an international punching bag. And these people are going to come out and be like, wow, that guy did such a good job. And everything that this writer lists here, I think it's probably Matthew Renfrew, like it usually is from Cult MTL. It's just naming every single policy area that Trudeau touched on. There's not, half the stuff are like new policies that we don't even know if they're working or not. They're not. But we haven't like had a year or two with them. We're like, oh, that was a really good policy. It's then been mostly bad stuff. And when you have to, legalizing cannabis, even, I would say, has been mostly a bad thing. It has not done the country any great benefit. Even the way that the Liberals rolled out the new cannabis market was ridiculous. And but let's take a break and let's talk about Jagmeet Singh, because I talked in a couple videos ago of Jagmeet Singh's like written, like kind of like response to Trudeau's resignation, because Jagmeet Singh is absolutely lazy, and he took like 5 hours to come out with a video, whereas Polyev basically came out with one within 30 minutes. And you can even tell the Conservatives had to rush to do it because the sound mixing wasn't great, and like the music was probably a little too loud with Polyev talking, but they were fast. They were efficient. They know what they're doing. Jagmeet apparently didn't think Trudeau could resign. I didn't think he was going to resign on Monday, but there was still the antsy feeling that I had to be up early in case he did. But apparently Jagmeet Singh didn't think the same thing. But here we have Mackenzie Gray reporting on what Jagmeet Singh says. He says, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says the NDP will vote against the throne speech. The Liberals will need to present once Parliament comes back to from prorogation. That would make a spring election after Parliament returns very likely.
Yes, whatever the vote is, there will be a vote of confidence. New Democrats will be voting against this government for an election where Canadians will have a choice. The Liberals have let you down. They've let you down again and again. It doesn't matter who the leader is. The Liberals have let you down.
You were sitting in the jacuzzi with them. I love how Jagmeet Singh is always there for all the Liberal government's accomplishments. They're not accomplishments. They're just bloated boondoggle programs. He's always there for the accomplishments. But as soon as things turn sour, he's like, they're letting you down. I can't believe these guys are letting you down. It's like, Jagmeet, baby, you were there. You were literally there. We saw you in the photos. You were literally there with him, shaking hands. What?
They do not deserve another chance.
By the way, somehow I'm hearing literal talking in the background of this video, so they couldn't even get their own staffers to like shut up for a bit while he recorded this.
And the Conservatives under Pierre Poilievre want to cut the things that you need. They want to cut pensions for seniors who are already struggling. They want to cut healthcare at a time when people can't get the care they need. They want to cut dental care for seniors and kids who are just receiving this care. They want to cut that. It's a callous decision.
Yeah, okay, Jagmeet, don't re-record this or anything after you mess up.
The New Democrats want to fight those greedy CEOs that are ripping you off. We want to lower your grocery bills and make sure you can actually find a home that you can afford. New Democrats are building a movement. If you're worried about those cuts,
give me money. That's really his message here. We're broke. Please give us money. We're terrified of going at the next election. This is why Jagmeet Singh also can't do like an hour and a half podcast with anyone. I don't think he has to do an hour and a half podcast with someone like not Joe Rogan, I guess, but with Jordan Peterson, because obviously Jordan Peterson and Jagmeet disagree on everything. I don't require people to do hostile interviews. Definitely, it wasn't a hostile interview between Poilievre and Jordan Peterson. That is generally a pretty friendly interview, but still, I don't think Jagmeet Singh could do an hour and a half interview with friendly media because he's so fake and his talking points are so thin. Any follow-up question destroys him. Even if the person's asking a follow-up question because, oh, talk more about that. That's interesting. He wouldn't be able to say anything. What does he mean by greedy CEOs? What, prices go up after the government prints massive amounts of money and raises taxes and regulations? Who could have thunk it? Anyways, okay. Moving on. This is kind of the response from QP, the Canadian Union of Public Employees. So this organization that is supposed to be like nonpartisan politically has now jumped from endorsing Justin Trudeau and the Liberals, which I believe they did in the last election, to endorsing the NDP openly. They say, Justin Trudeau announced that he is stepping down. There is no question that Canada needs new leadership. Instead of undoing the strides we've made everything sucks now. We need an NDP government that will continue to build on these vital achievements and that works for workers. And then Jagmeet Singh says, "Thank you, QP National," with his fist in the air there. If there is ever a fight, big bosses on one side and the workers on the other, the NDP will always side with workers and with Canadians. What? Always side with them? So you don't actually care if they're right or wrong. He is openly a hack for unions. And by the way, unions have been extremely bad for workers in Canada, at least in the past 30 years, because it has reduced the rights of the individual within unions to actually make their own gains from being a skilled, dedicated worker and has forced them into a system of seniority that rewards useless positions, people who have been around for a long time but don't get things done. Things have been so bad in terms of labor policy in Canada that even Canadians are siding with Canada Post over the Canada Post Workers Union, because after people have constantly seen unionized working employees get massive wage increases and bigger benefits, well over what private sector workers get, they get a little tired of constant whining, especially when everyone else isn't getting wage increases. And people say, well, should everyone join a union? Okay, well then get Venezuela. then you get the inflation rate hitting the heights that Argentina was, because everyone's constantly getting the wage increases, prices are constantly going up, and wages and prices keep going up forever. It only works if a small, tiny coterie of unionized employees get the benefits, and oftentimes they end up pushing for more lefty employees to get promotions, especially into cushy jobs. Like if you're in a teacher union, you get to become the vice principal of the school, or you get an HR position. I talk to unionized employees all the time. There is very much a cartel for trying to push very friendly NDP aligned people into higher positions. Anyways, so moving on to another, here's another take from David Musgrove. This one was pretty funny. He said, Trudeau is unpopular and there is a lot to criticize, but my God, when it's Carney versus Clark versus Freeland to replace him, there will be some nostalgia for his time in office. Nostalgia over what? I agree there's nostalgia because Trudeau's interesting in a stupid, funny way, and everyone else is boring. But no, there's no like nostalgia for them. It's so hard to watch, read some of this stuff. I love this post because you know that Chrystia Freeland was sticking needles into or pins into a Justin Trudeau shaped voodoo doll while she wrote this. She says, I thank Justin Trudeau for his years of service to Canada and Canadians. I wish him and his family the very best. And I don't doubt that the shortness to her statement with no photo included is very much intentional. This was great. Thank you for Colin the Prairie Guy for bringing this to my attention. He says, the fact that Vicky and her followers agree on this idiotic take of today's events should say it all. Absolutely biased lunacy. Vicky Campbell saying, I was really happy to hear under the circumstances that Trudeau prorogued Parliament. He resigned and then shut the Conservatives down for a while. It was a good decision, so we don't have to listen to F-face Polyev grandstand, talk and act like a clown for the next 3 months. I want my toys in the sandbox and not yours. I'm happy something's bad for the Conservatives, even though it's a really sleazy move. Are you allowed to prorogue? Yes. People have been wanting me to react to this video of this guy claiming that it could be illegal to prorogue Parliament in this manner. It's not. It's a tool. You can either use it well or you can use it poorly. Harper prorogued Parliament. I believe Turner prorogued Parliament. Mulroney, John A. Macdonald. It's a tool. It makes people not like you very much. Harper used it well because his opposition was legitimately trying to hold him to some ridiculous standard and call for an extremely early election. So I think Canadians in the long run appreciated the quick reset to Parliament to sort things out. But this idea that it's actually very good that basically Justin Trudeau is, punting the ball outside of the park and he's making the Conservatives run and go get it while he tries to sort his garbage out. This one was great from Stacy highlighting these two. She says, Trudeau is super mad at Freeland. And yes, after Trudeau at Freeland said all this stuff, you have BK Belton saying some pretty nasty things and them calling her a KKK something or other. Not very classy here by the Liberals on social media. Here's another one from the Stephen Barbarous here saying, the wrong person resigned. You should leave and never come back. You put your ego over country and party. You will never be leader. And BK Belton, of course, retweeted that. I can't live without these people. They're too funny. They're too funny, but they're also frustrating. I love them, but they need to stop. This one was pretty great. I love this video. This was also another one by Stacy here. Stacy says, well, Bethany isn't taking today's news very well. Coming soon, I stand with insert name, because obviously BK Belton has always had this very weird obsession with posting I stand with Trudeau every 5 seconds. So now she'll have to figure out another person to say she stands with. But this is her timeline yesterday. And she's just posting constantly, Polyev will never be my prime minister. And yeah, she's not verified. She does not have monetization. She mocks people for paying for verification on Twitter. So she's not doing this for engagement bait. She truly is a believer in the cause. This is hours. This is hours and hours. I'm sure. I hope that BK Belton gets what she's looking for in this life, because I don't think this is it. Uh, Here's Creek Pete himself saying something. I mentioned him earlier. Um, he says, it's easy to be a media personality in this country and just blurt out your dumb opinions than actually doing any journalism. Can't wait until this one gets the pink slip she deserves. And this is just a response to Robin Urbach saying, I suppose it's much easier to live with the idea that your caucus turned on you than it is to reconcile that the idea that you've made some significant policy mistakes and Canadians don't like you, which is just a fine take, because she's commenting on the fact that Trudeau basically says, well, I'm having to step down because I no longer have the support of my caucus. And it was phrased in such a way to like basically imply I could have moved on and won this next election if it wasn't for the ingrates behind me. And apparently that is her being very nasty. That is her being unfair to Justin Trudeau. Here's David Musgrove again saying, in response to this article, saying, why was Justin Trudeau forced out? With Trump on the rise in his party and whatever. It's just kind of like going over the landscape to why Trudeau resigned. And David Musgrove said, Justin Trudeau wasn't forced out because he was too left or too woke or whatever label suits your purposes. He was forced out because he overstayed his welcome, as many prime ministers do. Why did he overstay his welcome? William Lyon Mackenzie King stayed around for quite a while. You know, other prime ministers, Wilfrid Laurier, John A. Macdonald, stuck around far longer than he did. Brian Mulroney, maybe it was similar time. Even like Stephen Harper, you could say maybe overstayed his welcome, lost momentum in terms of what he was passing in legislation, was kind of more of a manager of government rather than like a new, fresh force. But like, yeah, it was because Trudeau was too progressive, too woke, and too left-wing. That's why people hated the policies. No, people just got tired of him. Why? Oh, they were just tired of him. Why? Why were they tired of him? It wasn't arbitrary. I can tell you that. It was not arbitrary. People didn't arbitrarily decide to like force Statistics Canada to say that per capita incomes are down. Per capita incomes are down. I don't know how else to say that. Per capita incomes are down. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills seeing these people try and process information. And then this one is a great way of capping this off. We're almost at the 40-minute mark. This is taking a while. Sorry about this. But Evan Scrimshaw here, who is a massive liberal sycophant, in response to this person, Colin Hicks, saying, let me reverse the question. How does prorogation serve the national interest right now? We could have questions, period, and MPs representing their constituents. And he goes on to talking about all the benefits of having MPs currently sitting in the the House of Commons at the time where Trump is putting pressure on Canada over the upcoming trade negotiations. And Evan Scrimshaw counters this by saying, stopping Pierre Poilievre from winning 250 seats is in the national interest. Yes, that is the national interest is whatever the Liberals want. How did they become unpopular? I don't know. Maybe it has nothing to do with the sanctimonious idea that whatever the Liberals' priorities are what Canadians want. This is why nobody likes people like Freeland. The Mr. Speaker, Canadians know, Canadians value. Stop telling people what they care about. Just do what you're going to do. And it's either popular or it's not. And if you're maybe a politician who wants to be liked or believes that, you should try and do the right thing, either look at the data and just objectively conclude the policies aren't working and change them, or react to what Canadians think about your policies and change them. The Liberals and their cheerleaders don't have a clue what's in the Liberal national interest. And the funny thing is, when you look into these people like Vicky Campbell and Creek Pete and BK Belton, many of the other Liberal cheerleaders, they're all, and I'm not going after anyone for having a higher income, they're usually either retired and pretty well off, or they're already well off well before retiring. They're people who don't care about the negative effects of the carbon tax because it really doesn't affect them that bad financially. They don't probably run their own businesses. They probably have their own positions, higher positions in companies that pay them quite well. And so they can have obnoxiously liberal positions on everything because they have the financial buffer to survive all the pain, where working class younger Canadians don't. Trudeau needs a Lifetime Achievement Award from a conservative organization like the Fraser Institute, because he has made young people more conservative than ever before, more financially libertarian, more economically libertarian. because he's failed so hard. It's convinced people that left-wing economics, Keynesian, modern liberal economics do not work, and we should go back in the classical liberal conservative direction. Anyways, long video. Thank you for surviving it with me. Remember to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment, do all that great stuff, and I will see you guys next time.